Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Hard Truth Show. Guys, in this video today, right there, the light box says it all today. Defend the second, all right? The Second Amendment and the First Amendment, to me, is two of the most powerful things we have here as Americans, okay? Real quickly, I want to also say, before I get really wound tight today in today's video, is that somebody commented about the mic. Now, guys, I'm trying to sort this out. I got an adapter on the audio. If things don't sort out today, I'm going to do something different this week and try a different connection unit. But one way or another, we're going to get this all sorted out. And also, the live video, the first live stream that I'm doing on the Hard Truth Show will be done this week, all right, on F Day. And if everybody don't know what I'm talking about, this show airs on M days, W days, and F days on the pagan Roman Julian calendar. Did I say that right? No, I'm sorry, we're on the Gregorian calendar. I can't keep up with all this paganism. But if you want to check out the Father's Creator's biblical calendar, check it out at worldslastchance.com. All right? You can download the calendar app and start getting a better understanding on keeping the Father's appointed times of worship on his timetable. So, guys, pretty much if you haven't figured it out, the context of today's show is going to be about the importance of having personal protection, especially in the last days we're living in. I don't care from a prepper's perspective. I don't care from everyday life. I'm going to tell you, as a person that has a concealed carry permit, strongly supports Second Amendment, one of the best videos I've ever seen is this woman. This guy was perpetrator. He's pulling up in a car. The woman's like walking across the street. She's probably come back from the gym or something like that. And she's going home. And you see her like looking over her shoulder, being very aware of her surroundings. And she's like, what's up with this? What's going on with this, guys? And as she gets over to the other side of the street, the guy's by this point pulled over to the side of the pavement, parked, got out opposite of the sidewalk, headed over to the side of the sidewalk where she's at. She's like, hey, you know, you're getting in my personal space. He keeps coming at her. Third time, she reaches behind, pop, dead center mass. He drops like a brick. Dude's like, he's a beast. I mean, he could have picked this woman up, hauled her off. Who knows the terrible things that could have happened, sexual assault, battery, murder. The list just goes on of crime. This is the thing. If you are a female listening to my channel right now, okay, and if you've listened to this channel over the past 8 years, you know I have encouraged especially the females out there. If you're a woman, have a knife, have a taser, have a mortar in the back of your trunk, have a machine gun, have a pistol above the visor, have a pistol in the console. I don't care. Have one in your purse, have one in your darn lipstick case. I don't care. You can't have enough protection in the world that we live in today. The people are crazy, all right? They're crazy, they're wicked, and they're insane, all right? And most people don't have your best intentions at heart. I'm going to go over two situations. One is current, one is past, and I wanted to pick one that was near and dear to my heart, and to contrast to this one, because I've noticed the news never shares, especially any shooting thing, unless it's racially fueled. I hope that, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are woke, and especially the prepper community out there, you have to understand that the news never has our best interests at heart. They feed fear and propaganda. That's pretty much what the news is for nowadays. And when you look at the situations that the news always shares, everything from happened out there in Ferguson, you know, to, I'm trying to think of some extremely high profile cases without mentioning some of the stuff I'm talking about. I mean, they're just, oh my gosh, I can just keep going down the list of stuff that's, every time I can think of one off the top of my head, it's always racially profiled. What was the one that happened in Florida? And they said, I believe it was a white guy that shot a black guy, but it actually even ended up being a Latino guy. He ended up getting off, is it LaMarcus Davidson? I can't remember, and I don't want to mention the wrong person. Guys, forgive me if I mention the wrong person. I should have had that one in front of me, because that was the shooting in Florida. It made big news. I'll share a link in the video description below when I find up the article, the one I'm talking about. because that was a stink. That was a big one. They kept that one churning for a long time. But the news never cares unless that, you know, like I said, it's high profile and it's racially motivated, okay? Or they can cook it up to be racially motivated. Now, what I've done is I've contrasted this, because in this first individual we're going to talk about, which is kind of the centerpiece of my appeal to you why the Second Amendment and why carrying a concealed firearm is so important nowadays, especially, like I said, for the ladies out there, men and women alike. I'm going to contrast this article that I'm about to talk about with another one. Now, you can check out both of these links in the video description below, because I went to Wikipedia so that you would have the complete breakdown of everything as far as, you know, trial, everything that's current on the one and everything that was on the one in the past that I'm going to cover. But I picked these because they are a complete opposite of each other. You have what people, if we're wanting to go the racially motivated, and keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not interested in spreading hate, racism, anything like that. I'm trying to show you a comparison of something so you understand that let's lay the people's color aside, let's lay everything else aside. All that matters is you have bad people and they lacked protection, okay? That's all that I want you to see, because then you can start seeing with a lot clearer set of lens. The other situation was the opposite of that race and murdered by the other race. So I have two different, I have like white on black crime, black on white crime. And keep in mind, there's Hispanic on white crime and white on Oriental, and you know, I mean, there's just all sorts of ethnics that do evil things to each other all the time. But like I said, the news always wants to push an agenda. All right. So with that said, the first one that I want to read off here is the Maude Aubrey, and forgive me if I mispronunciate that. I've followed this for a bit, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I seen the video, that disturbed me, absolutely disturbed me. And not so much as the fact that he was murdered, and I'm going to continue to say that because that's exactly what happened to the gentleman. But what disturbed me the worst is that I kept looking at that situation saying, man, if only he had a concealed carry, boy, would that situation have went so much different. I'm going to read just a quick excerpts, just 3 small paragraphs, guys. Bear with me. On the afternoon of February 23, 2020, Maude Aubrey, an unarmed, I want to repeat that, unarmed 25-year-old African-American. For those of you that are African-American don't know, the so-called black man is actually the true Hebrew Israelite. If you want to check out the True Hebrews video, link video description right there below, you may find out something interesting about your true heritage. Was chased and confronted by 2 armed men in a pickup truck, Travis McMichael and his father Gregory McMichael, in Stalia Shores, a community near Brunswick, Georgia. The incident was recorded in a 36-second video by William Rhodey Bryan from a second video following Aubrey. The video appears to show a shot fired by Travis McMichael just before a struggle ensued between Aubrey and Travis, grappling over a shotgun, ending with Aubrey being fatally shot. Glenn County Police said that on the day of the shooting, the Brunswick District Attorney's Office advised them not to make arrest, while the Brunswick District Attorney's Office denied that the Brunswick District Attorney or her assistant district attorneys had done so. Oh, of course, shins wouldn't cover for each other. The next day, Waycross Judicial Circuit District Attorney George Barnhill, who had not yet been assigned to the case, advised Glenn County Police that no arrest should be made. Barnhill officially took over the case on February 27th. Barnhill on April 2nd again recommended to Glenn County Police not to make arrests, while acknowledging that he was about to recuse from the case due to connection between his son and Gregory McMichael. On May 5th, the video of the shooting was uploaded on the website of WGIG, a local radio station. The video was uploaded to YouTube and went viral, and a 28-second segment of the video was also posted on Twitter by Aubrey's family attorney and widely circulated. Within hours, the video released, 2 actions were taken by Atlantic Judicial Circuit District Attorney Tom Durden, who had taken over as prosecutor after Barnhill's recusal. First, Durden said a grand jury would decide whether charges would be brought. Second, Durden took up Georgia Governor Brian Kemp's offer, bringing in the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to investigate. On May 7, 2020, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation arrested Gregory and Travis McMichael. They were charged with felony murder and aggravated assault. Now, I want to pause right here for a second. Guys, right before I go any further, we're going to take a quick break for our video sponsor for today. What will your savings in retirement look like once we declare victory over the virus? With stocks already down 30% from their all-time highs, no one has the answers.
Did you know it took nearly 8 years for the markets to recover after the 2008 housing bubble crash? Yet during the crash of 2008, gold and silver surged to all-time highs. Do you really have 8 years to wait for a recovery? Several Americans use this little-known IRS qualified loophole that allows Americans to buy gold and silver with their retirement accounts, and the good guys at Orion Metal Exchange offers a no-fee transfer in as little as 2 days on most accounts. Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and Citigroup all see gold soaring, forecasting $2,000 an ounce for gold. Some experts are calling for gold to double in the next year. Orion Metal Exchange is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer. At Orion, you get more precious metals for your money. Call today or request a free investment kit below. Mention 7 Trumpets Prepper Channel and get a free 1-ounce silver coin for qualified retirement account owners. Must be over 40 to qualify. Call 866-915-5053 and get your free investment guide today. At Orion, you get more precious metals for your money every day.
All right, guys. So I'm going to go in on this right here. Here's the deal. The number one problem with this is that he's not armed. If he had had personal protection on him, he may not have still not have survived this. But one thing is for sure. There would have been a standoff. Other people most likely would have lost their lives. And it would have been a lot different scenario, okay? This would have been like a shootout to OK Corral kind of situation, all right? And somebody else's body might have dropped instead of his. Now, when you pull out a pistol and you point it back at the people that's pointing a gun at you, they're not so bold and brave anymore at that point, all right? Another thing is that they had no business doing anything to this man, because I don't even care if he was the burglar, all right? I want to be very clear about that. I don't care if he had robbed my house. Here's the problem. They had no proof it was him. So to make a citizen's arrest, it has to be something going on right there, okay, to be able to make a citizen's arrest, all right? Because obviously you got witnesses, the crime's going on, citizens are trying to take care of the issue and help the police. That's different. This gentleman's freaking running in his own neighborhood, and murdered in his own neighborhood, all right? Personally, I would be thrilled if they took both these jokers out and hung them on the front lawn and sold tickets. Now, that's how I feel about it. It's murder. The video, let me tell you something. Do I feel like people are racist in this country? Absolutely. There is white folk that are racist. There is black folk that are racist. I think they're the scum of the earth. I don't like racism, but they come on all varieties and all colors of the 31 flavors. Shout out Baskin Robbins, man. Y'all got the best ice cream. Anyway, here's the deal. These men knew what they were doing. They plainly went after this person in intent. Okay, I'm going to tell you something. Somebody broke into the house that I used to live in when I was married to my ex-wife. Years and years ago, somebody tried to break in her home. So I went out of the home, chasing them through my neighborhood, trying to gun them down. Now, when I left my lawn, okay, I could have been arrested for murder. That's facts. Okay, I could have pleaded temporary insanity, some other things went on. But nevertheless, had I done something past the lawn, it would have been game over for me. All right, you all wouldn't see 7 Trumpets Prepper sitting here talking with you today, because I'd have probably been serving jail time, especially had I shot them, okay? Now, you got to understand, folks, there's limitations to the law, all right? And you cannot just take the law into your own hands. Now, this is an interesting contrast here, because these men supposedly were doing the right thing, right? And not only were they supposedly trying to do the right thing, but they took a man and murdered him when they, they could have done it. Like if you're wanting to arrest make a citizen's arrest, like somebody could have went up to him unarmed while somebody else was armed and been like, listen, you're going to comply to this. We're not going anywhere. We're just holding you here until the police come in a minute. We're all going to sort this out. There's a lot of different ways that could have been done, even though it still wasn't right. And the police would have sorted that out, and who knows, they'd probably received a citation or something, got in trouble for it. But regardless, it wouldn't have had to cost somebody their life. Now, you got to understand one other thing, is that the legal system today is broken. And I mean broken all the way from marital law to everything from domestic violence to protecting yourself on the street. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't give a flip about the law no more. I'm going to do whatever it takes to preserve my life. I'd rather be tried in a court of law than to be murdered and carried and buried in the ground. You've got to understand that there comes a point where the police, I was watching, shout out to Springfield Armory, I was watching their new video for the Hellcat, and they have a police officer sitting there, and pretty much long story short, he was just saying to the people that they, never in his career, best I remember, that he had ever responded to an action that was going on. It was either, you know, bodies had already been dropped, everything was already in motion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but they were never able to get there and just sort it out ahead of time. So going unarmed in the generation we live in, dude, that is madness. And this right here, the last thing I want to say about this is I don't care if it's white, black, yellow, polka dot, orange, whatever color you want to call the melanin in people's body. I just look at, there's one race, and that's the human race, okay? Unless you're Nephilim. And then the flood was, you know, pretty much you see how the flood took care of that mess. Although, as of the days of Noah, so shall come the Son of Man be. We're seeing everybody trying, or these people out here trying to hybridize and transhumanize and everything else, mankind again. So if that doesn't tell you, we're living the last days too, right? But the great thing about this is there was video proof. Let me tell you something. The minute that video got released to the public, the government got on their heels and moving. And that's the thing, folks. That's the generation we live in, where that justice is not really served most of the time until hard evidence is shown past what should have already been dealt with. Now, I want to go into this next one because it's a stark contrast. What you have here is so-called African American on white crime, right? And I want to reiterate this, that I don't care what color people are. There's just evil comes in all varieties. But I wanted to pick this one in particular because it has always bothered me ever since this happened. It happened right down the street from where, well, actually, not literally right down the street, but the next road exit down from where I work, because I worked off Rutledge Pike in Knoxville, Tennessee. And this incident happened just off Cherry Street in Knoxville, Tennessee, down from where I worked at my corporate job, okay? And if you haven't ever looked into this, it's Shannon Christianson and Christopher Newsome. And I'm going to tell you, I think it is one of the worst murders that I've ever seen happen in, period, ever. And had these individuals carried a concealed firearm, actually, especially both of them, you want to talk about a story that would have been different today. So I want to take, like I said, the current events, and I'm going to back way up, okay? All the way back, all right? This is in 2007 when this happened. And I'm going to back up to this, and I want to read this off to you. And I'm sure a lot of you folks that live in Tennessee, you're going to be familiar with this story. But I want for it to be a teaching tool for others that have never heard of this, all right? And then I'm going to cover some other things, guys, as far as Second Amendment goes. Shannon Gail Christian, age 21, and Hugh Christopher Newsome, Jr., age 23, were from Knoxville, Tennessee. They were kidnapped on the evening of January 6, 2007, when Christian's vehicle was carjacked. You know how you stop a carjacker? 2 in the chest and 1 in the head. And taken to a rental house where both of them were raped, tortured, and murdered. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any young people, and I mean small children watching at this point forward, this is a courteous notice to probably have them go listen to something else for a minute while I read the rest of this. 4 males and 1 female was arrested, charged, and convicted in the case. The grand jury had indicted 4 of the suspects on counts of capital murder, robbery, kidnapping, rape, and theft, while Eric Bode was indicted in 2018 on federal charges of carjacking, but also indicted for theft, rape, and murder. 4 of the 5 defendants, Eric D. Boyd, Latavius D. Cobbins, Lamarcus Davidson, and George Thomas, had multiple prior felony convictions. Because that's another thing I want to stop and point out right there. These scumbags always continue doing scumbag things. There's one way to fix it. It's called 6 feet of dirt. After a jury trial, Davidson was convicted and sentenced to death by lethal injection. Adios, amigo. Cobbins and Thomas were convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole. I don't think, honestly, that was good enough sentence. Vanessa Coleman was convicted and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole for facilitating the crimes. Absolutely not. She should have been executed as an example for the rest of them because she was the facilitator. Eric Dwayne Boyd was convicted at the federal level and sentenced to 18 years in federal prison for being an accessory after the fact to carjacking, later being indicted in 2018 on state-level charges in the same case more than a decade later. All the state convictions have been initially set aside because of misconduct by the presiding judge, who has since been disbarred, and I ain't even going to get into that. Let me tell you something. Our elected officials, there was a thing that went down. I got to get into this for a second. There was a thing that went down. There was a bunch of people in the legal system that got in a big mess up in one of the counties in which I have lived in here in Tennessee. And I mean, it was, best I remember, it was judges, lawyers, police officers, everything. Sex-related ring and all sorts of stuff. Folks, just because they're elected officials and just because they sit in a high office, it don't mean they're good people, all right? Just straight up. Retrials were originally slated for the summer and fall of 2012. The orders for retrials of Davidson and Colvinson were substantially, I'm so sorry guys, subsequently overturned by the Tennessee State Supreme Court, and their convictions and sentences stand. The Coleman and Thomas retrials resulted in convictions, but with a reduced sentence for Coleman and the same sentence for Thomas. Now, let me read this to you, because I want to read this section. And if you want to read the book, this is just off Wikipedia. That's how much them poor families had to go through with the trials and BS drama and everything else. Just ridiculous. But I want to read this off to you real quick. All right? Right here it says, Christian and Newsome was leaving an apartment together on the evening of January 6, 2007 to go to a friend's party. Number one, should have had their pistol in the vehicle. When they were abducted with her car from the apartment complex parking lot. Anxious from not hearing from their daughter, Christian's parents sought help from her mobile phone provider. They found her abandoned Toyota 4Runner on M-Day, January 8th. Police recovered an envelope from the vehicle that yielded fingerprint evidence leading them to LaMarcus Davidson of 2316 Chipman Street, an address 2 blocks from Christian's car. When police went to the address on Tuesday, T-Day, sorry guys, trying to say pagan days a week anymore, January 9th, they found the house unoccupied and Christian's body in a trash can in the kitchen. Newsome's body was discovered near a set of nearby railroad tracks. He had been bound, blindfolded, gagged, and stripped naked from the waist down. He had been shot in the back of the head, neck and back, and his body had been set on fire. According to the testimony of the Knox County acting medical examiner at the trial of Eric Boyd, Newsome was sodomized with an object and raped by a person. Police believe these actions took place at the house and his body was later wrapped and abandoned. The medical examiner said that Christian died after hours of torture, sustaining traumatic brain injuries and suffering injuries to her vagina, anus, and mouth due to repeated sexual assault. Before killing her in an effort to remove DNA evidence, her attackers poured bleach down her throat and scrubbed her body with it. She was bound with curtains and strips of bedding with her face covered with a trash bag and her body stashed in 5 large trash bags. These were placed inside a residential waste disposal unit and covered with sheets and garbage from Wendy's. The medical examiner said there was evidence that Christian slowly suffocated to death. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you straight up, and I want to reiterate that for everyone that always says that white on black crime is a terrible thing all time goes on. Well, there's some other black on white crime and other races on or ethnics on other ethnic crime too. And I'm going to tell you that is one of the nastiest, terrible, cruelest murders I've ever... I mean, this is stuff out of Hannibal Lecter, all right? And I'm sorry if you got disturbed in the reading of that. That's public knowledge now. And it's on Wikipedia. I tried to go to something that so that, you know, if somebody gets in their feels over this video, that I don't get my content pulled, because this is public knowledge, all right? This is, like I said, this is straight off Wikipedia. And you got to understand that if you look at that whole situation, I read that, I picked that one, I cherry-picked that one because it's the most gruesome murder I can think of ever. I mean, you got everything, sexual assault, just murder, violence, everything you could think of, man. I mean, it's just straight out of Satan Manual 101. And I guess the thing that people got to understand from that is if you had these two people and I could get them a concealed weapon before this event took place, you wouldn't be reading this today. All right? Just like you wouldn't be reading right here. That one neither. All right? These murders wouldn't have took place today. And I'll tell you what, had the murders took place, it would have been a whole lot different story, because there'd been other bodies going 6 feet deep. Now, the question that we have to ask ourselves is we're living in a generation where we have everything from the protest in the Capitol building there in Michigan the other day to the armed protesters that went up to the Virginia Capitol. A shout out to all you guys. It's up to us. Like today, if Tennessee said, you can't carry a firearm, Luke, you can't even own a gun, I don't care. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not going to be one of these people. Y'all willing? I refuse to be one of these people. When Messiah said, if a man don't have a sword, sell his garment and go buy one. All right? That is exactly where I'm at with it today. I can't buy enough guns. Matter of fact, the next firearm I'm purchasing is a reproduction of the first real, in my opinion, assault rifle. Everybody thinks like AK-47, stuff like that, but like one of the real first assault rifles was the Sternwire STG-44. Okay, like I'm getting one of those that's from German Sport Guns that's in the 22 cal, and y'all can laugh at that, but I'm gonna tell you what, man, 22 is a nasty little round if you can pop off enough of them somebody, but it's easy for home defense gun for young people and your wives and stuff like that, easy to have. And let me tell you something, when you point a 9-pound assault rifle down range at somebody in the dark coming in, they ain't gonna stop to ask you, hey, is that like 9mm or is that 7.62 or about 3.9 or 223 or 5? I mean, like, they ain't gonna ask that. They're gonna go running, or either they're gonna come at you and you need to pop off a round in them, or multiple rounds, or hey, just do like the guy done the other day. There was a black gentleman, I believe it was, that stopped, I believe, another black perpetrator. And forgive me, guys, if I mistell this one. It was in a van in Florida. He had him, his girlfriend, his son in there. And the guy put the gun to him. Well, he had I think it was an AK. He put the AK to them in the van. He slapped the AK to the side, pulled out his Glock, and just unloaded the whole magazine in the guy. I think it was like 14 rounds. Shout out to you, buddy. If you had a 15th, I'd say put that one in him too. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't like violence, but I'm telling you, we are living in a generation where that you can be one of two people. You can be the people alive, or you can be these. And I hate that. I hope these people make it into the kingdom in the resurrection. I really do. I hope the Most High Yah has mercy on them. We're going to see, as things wind down in the last days, we're going to see more and more and more wickedness. And I cannot overly state, and actually it's the last appeal I'm going to make, that if you don't own a gun today, and especially for preppers, this needs to be one of the top priorities, that you need to go get. I'm serious. I don't care if you state encourage you not to have a firearm. You need to go get one. I don't care what the law says. I'm telling you, as a human being that has a right to life and this new world order that is rising, you need to definitely have some protection. Guys, as always, until we see you again here at the Hard Truth Show, and as always to the channel, I hope Most High Yah Baruch you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, show you favor, and give you shalom, my friends, in Yahushua name.